tell you, last night I tried for a very long time to prepare something to say, and I decided that I'm not prepared. I just want to speak from my heart. I don't want to say I don't want to say any clarification. I want to talk about why this thing, this meeting right here, why this is so powerful. And as much as everyone here could relate to the pain, I don't think we have an idea of how much more is brewing underneath the surface. How many people who are laughing and saying, yeah, they're broken ties, yeah, parents, they're probably monsters, they're probably this. They don't know how quickly today, in a society like today, how many children, how many parents, the alienation is not just affecting parents, it's affecting children, it's affecting grandchildren, it's affecting daughters. And even more than that, there used to not be in America, there was no shot lab until one individual started it, and now one's like, how do you not have a shot lab? How do you keep it? There used to be infertility was never spoken about, and now these pictures of little babies with a time, and then and spoken about everywhere. We spend so much money because we understand that every parent deserves to have a child. But why don't we deserve, as parents, to have that child which we work so hard on, we've given our labor nefesh, and to be able to maintain that relationship with that child? We can't control what's out of our control. The same way no one ever guaranteed us in life that there will not be an accident on the parkway. No one ever guaranteed us of anything. But when it's done in a way where you took all the chinuch of a child, all the things about and we say that all these things are not really negeya in your case. The tragedies are not in proportion. Talking about the sadness of it is not going to do us any good. Because anyone, and what's happening, the triviality of it, how simply people are just throwing it out there. Make boundaries, build walls, disconnect, make safe spaces, the feelings of whatever it is, without really thinking what they are doing, not just to the parents. The parents are the obvious victim. What they're doing to the children themselves and their future generations. At some point, it's a meiser etzicha. What is going on? When people who are vulnerable, when people are struggling, and the knee-jerk reaction is to cut off. You didn't help them. It's literally telling a patient with cancer who's struggling, and you tell them, what you really need to do is just do drugs. You won't feel any pain. You may not feel the pain of the immediate medication, but what you've done is you've destroyed a life. Now, I don't need to be talking to you about that, because if you're in this room, either you relate to this topic, or on a personal level, you're hurting from it. Why it became so trivial, it's beyond. But I want to just talk about for one moment. I want to tell you where, the way I see it, and every opportunity I get to speak about it, I do. And after every single time I speak about it, the last time, well, even the last time, really the time after that, but the two times that I spoke about it was at the Village Convention. And I had an entire Shabbos, people coming over to me to share with me their personal stories. And then you always get that person who says, I don't talk to my parents, but trust me, it was for a good reason. This Rav said, that Rav said. I have never, ever had someone come to ask me a shayla whether they should still talk to their parents or anybody. And I never had enough information to say yes or no. I don't know how these rabbanim have the time, or these therapists, these askanim, these smart people, pikchim, yoyetzim, whatever you want to call it. I don't know how somebody found enough time in their day, their week, to spend hours and hours and hours to try to make it work before taking such an extreme case. I don't know. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me, and that's why I, as both as a Rav and as a therapist, have never, ever, not just allowed it, not just didn't encourage it, but on the contrary. But this is not about that. This is not, wow, such a big deal. You've never murdered anybody. That's a great testament. It's like, I haven't done that, and I have not yet shot anyone or murdered babies. So this is not a badge of honor. It's not a badge of honor. What I want to talk about is, then people say, aren't there cases? I want to tell you about one case there. There was once a couple, who I was seeing a young couple, who the girl's mother felt that her husband was abusive. And started talking to the mother about her husband and red flags and things like that. The girl kept telling the mother, I'm happily married. When this mother came down to my house and gave me a speech, and about 10 minutes into the speech, thank you Hashem, I got Hatzalah call. And they called me on a rush, and I said goodbye, and I ran. My emails were filled with emails every single day of different things about addiction, about narcissism, about toxic masculinity, about gaslighting, about all types of stuff about her son-in-law that her daughter was just not getting. And I thought I'd ignore it, it'll go away, but it didn't. Then I actually met the children. And at some point I sat with the parents and said, this must stop. This must stop. You cannot be dictating what your daughter needs to do, what your son-in-law needs to do, back and forth. And after 6 months of this, and I warned him, and I begged him, I said, I promise you I don't want to do this, but I will tell your children to never, ever talk to you again. I said, this has to stop. Their marriage, you're killing them. And they kept saying, they spoke to their Rav said this, their Rav said that. I said, let me speak to the Rav. I spoke to the person's Rav, and the Rav said, this woman is nuts. At some point, the woman and her husband is coming out of the woman is coming out of her car at night when a private investigator shows up, hands her a card and said, your mother wants you to call her. And said, by the way, and shows her a whole bunch of pictures of her husband, I guess allegedly trying in alleged places. At that point, I called them and I said, never ever, do not answer your phone, block that number, whatever it takes, do not go down this road. I felt so bad that 2 months later I went down with the family's Rav and I said, I want to rebuild this relationship. Here's some basic ground rules. I did this for almost a year until we realized it was going to talk to. I have never ever seen anyone else, any story I heard of alienation, never, not just this, whenever you're telling this to people are nodding, yeah, this makes sense. Because it makes sense. You try. You know how we ended up in Galus Mitzrayim, and this is such an incredible thing. This week's parsha, the Greatest Ayavshin says something so powerful. Hannah says, we know that the Shulta says that because of the fight with Yosef, we ended up in Galus Mitzrayim. The Greatest Ayavshin says, it says that the brothers by Yisnu Oisei, they couldn't speak Lishalom. It's not grammatically correct. What does that mean? The says that every fight, every disagreement, the only way to resolve a disagreement is when you have two people that can have a conversation together. When they can sit down together and say, let's talk. Let me hear what is going on for you. And by the Shvatim, they hated Yosef so much. They had so many preconceived notions that they never engaged in conversation. If you don't have the ability to communicate with another person, you'll never come with Shalom. It's impossible. So much so when Yosef starts traveling to find the brothers, the pasuk says, they saw him from far away. What does that mean? When a person sees another human being, but I don't see their humanity, I don't see their side, I don't see who they are. This is my opinion of the person from far away. This guy's a jerk. This guy's a this. He's a controlling. This person is that. Get to know. Have a conversation. Open up. No, mirachik. Meirach, so much so that in Parshas Vayigash, and in Miketz, when Parshas Miketz, when the brothers are going to come to Yosef recognizes them. Vehem lo yikiruhu. They did not recognize him. They can be so close, but they don't see. If you don't want to get to know another person, you will not get to know another person. What we're seeing with alienation is time and time again. People who are not trying to understand the two sides. People are not saying, no, this cannot happen. This is cancer. This is murder. We need to have a trial. We need to have a sit down and not you said this, you said this. Let's make this work. If we invested half the amount of time in trying to make it work, as much as we do in trying to empower and enable and okay and to validate this horrific newest mishigas. Why I call it a mishigas? Because it doesn't help anybody. Nobody feels better. Nobody walks out and says, I had a great life. I haven't spoken to my mother in 25 years. Yishtabach Shema. Nobody. Never happened. And you think, and that's why it's a mishigas. You're not helping people. What happens in divorce cases now? Every second woman is doing this all over. It's not politically correct to say this, but this is the reality. Restraining order. Restraining order 1. I felt threatened. Here's a father. Doesn't see his kids anymore. And now you're working against the system because already for 6 months there's a temporary restraining order now. It's a permanent restraining order. And then they show up in Bezdin, and Bezdin says, okay, listen, if you want to get rid of the restraining order, you got to do this. By that time, the kids are already so famous. Why are we okay with this? Who accepted murder? And it's premeditated murder. There are organizations paying money for people to do this. There are people helping these people to do it. And we sit around, we watch it, and we all say it's terrible. Saying it's terrible is not enough. Not to this room. You guys know it's terrible. We need to start talking about this again and again and again. It needs to be called out. And here's the most horrific part. To me, what the most horrific part is, if it got to a point, think about this all the time. A parent, child is born. Child's born, we put into that child. It's not even normal. It's not to be believed if we think about what humanity is. It's almost insanity. And every child has its struggles. And our anxieties about our children, our depression about our children, our motivation is for children. We've given up our vacations for our children, our finances for our children. You know, in the case of women, we've given up their waistlines for their children. They've given up everything for their children. Everything for a child. Everything. Why? Child's worth everything. Every pregnancy, doesn't matter. I'm ready to do it. I'm nauseous. I'm in bed. I'm throwing up. I can't function. I still have to go to work. I'll do it for my children. Comes to make a chassan. Chassan can be like mamash. It's the amount of money the chayv someone goes into. And then, after doing everything, in the conversation on a Matzah Shabbos, where someone felt misunderstood. And all of a sudden, it was like a conversation of, I need you to apologize for what you said. What did I say wrong? Oh, you can't even understand. You can't own it? Oh, you can't own it. And then comes the bigger meeting, the bigger conversation, and it didn't go exactly as planned, and that's it. And here's the fascinating part. There's a couple sitting in their house every night, looking at their phone, for every year of Yom Tov. Are they going to say good Shabbos? Are they going to say good Yom Tov? Am I allowed to respond? Should I respond to them? Should I text them? Will they respond? Do I buy them a gift? Do I come to the simcha? Do I do this? The whole day they're processing and processing. Someone said, oh, I met your son. He looks great. And the parents are like, you look great. Tell me all about it. They're living their life vicariously through anything. That pain of being all alone, that pain of all that big investment, that anger. And here's the crazy part. If in the middle of the night, that son broke into the house, brought the life there, the father and mother would still not hurt that child. Habab b'machteres, a child would hurt a parent. A parent still would not hurt that child. The Gemara does not say Habab b'machteres. That if they were alienated, then it's a different halacha. No, a parent, they still down for the child. They're still happy when the child is doing well. They're still sad when the child's not doing well. That bond never stops. It never breaks. It's not there. The hate is not there. The anger is not there. Because they love that child. And that's the extent of the pain. There is nobody in the world. There is nobody in the world that will ever love a child like a parent. There is no one, there's no relationship, there is nobody that has, and you rob a child of that. And I want to tell you, this is not to say there aren't parents out there who are destroying themselves. That doesn't mean to say there aren't parents out there who are doing stupid things, harmful things, things which is bad for the children. It's happening all the time. And that's something that has to be addressed just as much. When you have a couple that has shown bias issues, or whatever's going on, and they can't share, whatever is going on, and a parent can't accept it, it's just as devastating. Because you're affecting a marriage more than anything. So of course, we're not going to be in denial here that there aren't issues both ways. But the alienating of a parent. So I was thinking about it. What chizuk could you say? Like, what do you say? I was thinking last night. And I went last night and my kids are going to sleep and saying goodnight to them, and I'm thinking to myself, you can fathom if one of my children weren't talking to me anymore? My first thought was, I'd kill it. My second thought was, that would defeat the purpose. My next thought was, don't think about it. Because if you think about it myself, I couldn't wrap my head around it. For yourself, it's hard to be mechazik yourself. For Yedim, it's easy. And that's what I was thinking about this thought. It got me into a long, obsessive thought process in my head. And literally having a conversation with myself. And I said, this is such a painful topic. And you really are dreading speaking tomorrow. So you don't know what to say. Because you love your kids so much. And I started thinking to myself, do I really love my kids so much? Once you get into this mind process, it can really play with you. You should try it once in a while, but make sure you have meds near you. It drives you crazy. Think, wait a second. If my kids moved out, I'd never see them again. And I had no information about them. Would I really love them? Would I still have that feeling? And then I started thinking about this. There are parents who are alien, who when they talk to me about their kids, will still talk about what their favorite supper was, what they love doing, how they like playing guitar, how they like doing this, how they love learning, or a daughter did this. They have the same yishmak, the same cheshik with a child who they haven't spoken to in 15 years sometimes, Rahman al-Islam. Yes, the love is still there. Except that when you have a child that you have a relationship with, it's so easy to feel it. It's so easy to say, yeah, I love my kids. I love myself. I don't love my kids. That pain of going into a Yom Tov, like Hanukkah, with these Hanukkah parties, and they're going to go to the in-laws they're going to go to, and they're going to put it on their status, and they're going to block you from it already. And you're going to see all the things, but not to you. And you could still say, I love that child. That's love. That's kirachim al-banim. That's what it's about. That's the difficulty. And as we are in a world, and you know what's interesting? People take pot shots at therapists for this topic. I have no problem with it. And I think that largely it's correct. And a lot of these cases, or most of the cases, is going to be someone in the mental health world that has been approving this or validating it. Rabbanim, unfortunately, someone comes to them, tells them their story, they're hearing another side, the other side came, before they can even open their mouth, they were already guilty, they were already being yelled at. But it's not about that. There's always going to be people that are going to hurt. There's always going to be people that don't get it right. The fact that society is okay with it, that's the tragedy. And not that they're okay with it, but they just don't understand how rampant it is. That makes people feel lonely. You don't walk around with a pink ribbon, or a yellow ribbon, or whatever the different ribbons mean, whichever the Sarah represents. There's those billboards that say, 8 time, the picture of a cute baby. There's no billboard showing a couple with their parents staring down, saying, "If only I would have this." All those things aren't there. We're left to our own devices. We're left in our own pain, night after night after night, just looking at that phone. Maybe. Making another phone call to another dead end and another dead end. And I just want to share one last thought about this. We don't understand life, and they don't figure it out. So you didn't figure it out, because you'll find out pretty soon they didn't figure it out. The amount of pain that's in this world is so extreme. I feel sometimes that the world is just pain. I constantly remember that most people that call me is because there's something painful in their life, but they really are people walking around and being happy. They really are. And it turns out, randomly go over to people and see how they're doing. Everyone's got something going on, but there are people that's happy. There's pain everywhere. There's pain everywhere. The amount of mental illness, the amount of people that don't have parnasa, the amount of people who are in oncology wards, the amount of people that have all 3 of those issues. It's all. And I think there's one thing in life that only thing I could think of. Certain people that Sarah identifies them. That's who they are. They're just their Sarah. It's every conversation. It's their identity. I can't go there because it reminds me of this. This is reminiscence of that. He's an individual. He's actually here in this room. I remember many years ago, his journey started. I remember we lived in the same neighborhood. And a few weeks later, I met him and I said, "How are you doing?" He looked at me and said, "How do you think of it? How do you think of it?" And I said, "Don't give up." I said, "Keep fighting." Must be 15 years later. He's still fighting. Still fighting. Still trying. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Years of arguments and efforts later. Still fighting. But it's not about the battle. The battle's so out of our control. One inspirational message that someone hears and says, "Wow, I gotta do something." One near fatal accident and someone does something. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's said if anything is like I have to be machazik. I've been texting my mother the child doesn't have to stop doing that. I almost died because I had such regret. I didn't have my own boundaries. It's just we don't know how those things work. We can't control anybody around us. We can't make people change. We can't do anything. The only thing we can do is for ourselves. I'm dealing with an end-of-life situation. Never forget walking into ward of the hospital. I come to this patient, make a decision about doing a surgery or not. I come to the bed, the surgeon's there, the person's conscious and alert. That's very rare. The person looks at me and says, "No." That's what he tells me. This is a Holocaust survivor. He tells me, "Which one?" I looked at him and I said, "Well, he said, "No, really." He says, look, I have numbers. Been there before already. My face is, I don't, he says, I'm just kidding. He said, I'm kidding. I don't know, should I do a surgery or not? He says, look, I'm an ultracocker already. He says, I'm struggling with everything. Is it worth it to do the surgery or not? I looked at that man, I could not speak for him. I was just like, I sat with him. And then after I told him, I said, maybe we should do it. He said, no, you're saying that because I guilted you into it. I said, we're not making the decision for him. He decided not to. To have a person that no matter what he's struggling with, I am staying the same. To be able to make a Holocaust joke from a Holocaust survivor who's end of life, sitting in a hospital, deciding whether he has to have a surgery or not. I don't think anyone should be able to do that. But to think that someone has that humanity in them, that I'm not changing no matter what. I don't have to be Fabistan. I don't have to have a bad Hanukkah. You may have a bad Hanukkah anyways. But that feeling that you need to, how can I be happy for someone else? How can I enjoy this, enjoy that? And for some people it's not one child, it's 2 children, it's 5 children, their whole family. How can I do it? You need to give yourself permission that it's okay. There's no one that can do that for you besides yourself. You're the only one that can do it. And you need to allow yourself to know that people can steal anything from you. They can't steal yourself from yourself. That's the only thing no one can take from you. No one can take away your sense of humor. No one can take away your chiyus. No one can take away your simchas achayim. That's something which you voluntarily give up as a result of something difficult that happens. No one takes that from you. You choose to give that up. Now you may say that's harsh. I don't choose to. You choose to. You need to be hard on yourself to say that no matter what happens, I'm going to be happy. Of course I'm going to feel a missing limb. Of course I'm going to limp if I'm missing a leg. Of course it's hard to reach if I'm missing an arm. It's hard, but I have to do this. I cannot allow kiloko b'chaflayim, that therefore I have nothing left to me. That I'm beaten and beaten and beaten. That can't be your identity. It can't be something you walk around with a badge. Instead of saying Jude, it says alienated. Can't be. It can't be the only conversation that we have again and again, regurgitating. If you can help yourself, do it. If you can't, then you have to allow yourself to be happy regardless. Now you say, who am I to tell this to you? No one. Don't have the authority to do it. And if I walk out and you say, who does he think he is to give me such advice? Does he know what it's like? No, I don't. No, I can't. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I can tell you one. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is looking at the most pained people. The Amana, the Yasin, that's already we know. The downtrodden people, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's for sure. I don't know of any greater nirdafim of people who are infertile with children, of people who are alienated when they want to connect. There's no greater tzara than that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your tefillas are neskabel because you're coming from a place of pain. Daven for someone else in your matzah. Daven for yourself in this matzah. Don't give up. And just know that I'm happy to say that for the first time ever, when I spoke about this topic, I didn't get a bunch of people just giving me drushes about toxic parents and all the finally hearing people say, this is horrible. Why would they allow it? As if there's an Illuminati group out there allowing this. Finally, people are realizing that it's something we need to address. But what you're trying to do, and just this organization, and again, I forgot the names. I met
Hadassah.
Well, that's it. And this is okay. So you guys don't give up. You're persistent, and you took on to help the most needy and truly deserving of your attention. And everything we do, every step of the way, we're getting closer, we're getting closer, we're getting closer. And not to be a cause. Let the cause be forgotten. Mitzvah Hashem, with this, it'll help every single one of us get to where we need to get to. But during that duration, let's remember that the Nes of Hanukkah was not so much, with the winning of the war. That's the thing part. It was that in the darkness, when the majority of Klal Yisrael became the Siachim, there was only a small percentage of Jews left. Most of the Jews were done. There was a few Jews who believed that we could still do this. They had faith in themselves. They had faith in their cause. That's what the Nes Hanukkah was about. It was about not giving up, about saying that we may be outnumbered, maybe the opinions are archaic, but we're sticking to our belief system. We're not allowing us to give up. As a message of Hanukkah, HaKadosh Baruch should give every single one of you koyach to be able to get through this Yom, to get through Hanukkah, to get through Purim, to get through the year. And HaKadosh Baruch should be full of simcha that we were able to reconnect, and we're able to stop this. But as long as HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Gzeir is still standing, Hashem should give you koyach, you should have simchas hachayim, simchas hanefesh. You should see the good of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in every step you take. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help you. You should be the right shluchim, daven for the rest of life. So daven for us that we should never ever understand you. We should never understand your pain. And you should daven for HaKadosh Baruch Hu that every single one that is suffering, we should see an end to this goals, and we should all be zeh that Yeshua's Pekar Mamash.
Amen.